that this Earth came into existence after a Big Bang. Although the Earth is a few million years old, but the trauma of existence continues to reflect itself in every human being. The transition of every human being may be from the womb to the tomb, but this journey by no means is without pain, sorrow, joy, and of course surprise. These contradictory experiences can be best seen in the case of adolescence. The change from a dependent infant to a young adult who is trying to find his bearings both on the physical as well as on an emotional plane can be an exasperating experience. Parents and teachers of these young adults would bear testimony to the trauma of youth.
They start questioning authority. They are not obedient to any rules and regulations of the school, and they have to be convinced about it. Now suddenly they feel that everything has a rationale, and unless you argue with them, unless you convince them rationally, they will not obey.
Arguments do happen, especially on the matter of talking to boys, on being a bit too frank and blunt, and like I say I'm old enough to manage and they think I'm not old enough to do.
She's too sensitive, gets hurt easily. Now what is the alternatives we have to treat her? I mean to interact with her. Should we ignore her? Should we turn around and say that she'll grow out of it?
I'm finding it very difficult to handle a boy at this age, because my daughter was not all that difficult in that age of adolescence, what my son is.
Adolescence, a phase of bewilderment and anxiety. These adolescents, what are their problems?
Adolescents are young people who have just entered their teens, and they are beginning to sense a feeling of being grown up. They want to be in charge of their lives. They want to be independent. They want to take decisions. And yet they're very misunderstood, because the family, the teachers, and the others are not willing to treat them as adults. They're treating them as a child. So the adolescent is caught between being a child and being an adult at different points of time. So he has doubts about his own self-identity.
In the transition to the adolescence, a questioning attitude starts. They are curious. They would like to know everything. They would like to be convinced of what is being told to them. So earlier you could dictate to the children and tell them, well, these things have to be done. But the changes we see nowadays is, it's not that they don't do it. If you're able to convince them logically, rationally, and tell them the outcome, the consequences, they would listen.
The most common problems adolescents have is communication with their parents. They feel the parents are not able to understand them. They feel they are not able to sympathize with them. They feel that very often parents are closed on about issues which are so important for the adolescent. And also the traditional Indian family household has a structure which is rather
turbulence is attributed to certain changes: physical, social, and emotional. These changes are natural and need not be misunderstood. There is nothing to be fearful of these changes. The physical changes in the girls are increase in height, development of breast buds, onset of menstrual cycle. The physical changes in the boys are increase in height and muscle mass, growth of testes and penis, growth of facial and body hair, change of voice. Another fact of life is that the growth process varies from person to person. The pace of growth may vary from fast to slow, respectively. The growth process may also be different in rural settings. Due to lack of education and various social and other factors, emotional and social changes may be different, but the process of physical growth remains the same. Proper preparation of these children for the changes is very essential. Otherwise, it may lead to certain psychological problems.
When I was nearing the age of 12, 13, I never knew anything about what is exactly the process of growing up or what exactly happens, what physical changes take place. One fine day I just realized, and I really thought I was ill, so there was something wrong with me. But then at that time my mother was very helpful. She explained things to me that there is nothing, it's just a part of growing up. You'll learn to get used to things. But it was at that point, for that initial 5-6 months, I did feel that it was an unnecessary trauma, and I don't know, and then immediately one thing, that I suddenly began to realize, became conscious of myself.
Most of the things which happen in this age group are 80%, 90% usually normal. I think these boys or girls should be allowed to come and discuss about these things more freely so that they don't have any psychological strain. The most common problem is that they are psychologically under depression. Any sexual problem which comes across, or any literature which they read in a magazine, but they don't have the proper knowledge or proper details of the thing, they get unnecessarily worried, and that kind of mental strain which they cannot discuss with anyone continuously give them more of these symptoms. Under mental stress they give more discharges, and this I will stress that they should not be fearful about the discharges, even about the menstrual patterns.
The adolescent should be informed in a scientific, authentic manner. He should be told about the changes that are happening to him or her. And he should also be, or she should also be made aware of the changes to be expected, what these changes are for, and how to cope with them. Otherwise, they may resort to all kinds of trash literature for informing themselves about, or look at magazines which do not provide proper information, and they just leave you titillated but do not get informed. So they are certainly at a loss to know what is happening towards them. So the school, the parents, the adults, the counselors all have a role in informing the adult about what to expect and how to handle what is happening to him or to her.
Are you worried about your children? Are they spending a lot of time on the phone? Are they insisting on going out with their peers? Are your boys spending a lot of time on the roadside, indulging in e-teasing? Do they go out to parties and often come late?
When my daughter was in a class 10th, and she, we have her school is very nearby to our house, and she was very popular, and she had friends on and off and coming, both boys and girls, So many times the boys would like to come and sit and, would like to chat around. And we are both working, working parents. So we are normally not around during the afternoon hours. So when it happened for about couple of weeks, that her friends had come and used to come. So our neighbors would always say she's very popular, she has very handsome friends, boys around her. And I had to tell her that, Sneha, you have to be careful, you are alone in the home, all these people come, they all know that we are not home, so how are you going to take care of you? And like that it went on for a while, and I think for about 6 months we were kind of exchanges, were made, and then finally made her understand that she's going to be alone in the house, and she has a brother and to look after, and she has to look after herself and what everything means. And I think she took it in a very right sense.
Some of the boys, when they came, when I would walk into the house, they won't get up and say, hello uncle, how are you? So I had to explain to both of them, when you are having friendships, then let it be a family friends. And once you are having family friends, then the acceptability and the different kind of an environment will be created. But if boys are going to come and meet you only, then that will be a problem.
My mother doesn't like it when he comes when there's nobody around, mainly because she thinks the neighbors, they make all sorts of stories about you visiting a guy, they see you around with a guy, they make all sorts of stories. But first of all, she doesn't like that. Then she says, if you're not doing anything wrong, why should he visit you when I'm not around? So, I mean, he doesn't, she just generally told me to be careful because she told me not to trust men as such. And then, that is all. And she told me just to be careful with him unless you're not sure of what you're doing. But now, since I know him for very long and my parents know what sort of relationship we have, now it just doesn't matter anymore because she knows that she can trust me and I can trust myself.
It would be appropriate to say that there is a clash of values between the parents and the adolescent. Now, for one, he starts rejecting the parental values, he starts questioning them, sometimes even challenging those values as whether they are appropriate or not. This may be partly because he is overwhelmed by the peers and their influence on him, and he may also be rejecting the parental values because he thinks he knows another set of values which are suitable for him, which he should be adopting. So parental rejection is usually treated as sensitivity on the part of the adolescent toward the parent, because the adolescent questions, challenges, and often argues and debates with the parents.
All these developments can be classified under the head of emotional changes. These changes are very sensitive and react strongly to events, contradictory feelings towards persons, and agnostic to authority, development of new attitudes, defensive about own actions.
Now, the second type of problem they usually have is heterosexual in nature. They are interested in young girls, they are interested in young boys, they want to spend time with them. They are also exposed to media which provides them a lot of exposure and stimulates them sexually, and yet they do not know how to go about it in their own personal lives. They feel inadequate, or sometimes they commit errors. They don't know whom to share it with or how to get information to take care of themselves. So a whole host of problems come. Now, typically what happens when an adolescent faces problems, he either withdraws or is unable to concentrate on his studies. This is a common problem that we have encountered. Or he totally goes away from the home and the control of the parents onto an entirely different area, which can be sometimes unfortunate. So I think informing the adolescent, supporting the adolescent, understanding the adolescent is quite important.
through our curriculum, through our programs by which we are doing, where all children play together, they lift heavy furniture together, they do meal planning together, they cook together. I mean, all activities are geared towards togetherness and equality. And if by the adolescents they are able to respect girls as individuals, and truly the ideas which the ideas are based on an equal basis, then I think all earlier problems which relate to Eve teasing and narrow-minded approaches can be taken care of, and the child who comes into adulthood is well prepared to have full respect and understanding for a better partner, for a better life.
Certain social traditions, like early marriages, create psychological and physical problems, as the girls and boys are not prepared for it.
In the married girls who become pregnant early, again their genital organs are not well developed, so their pregnancies can end up with abortions or even premature deliveries. And again, there can be abnormal behavior of the uterus during labor. And the child development also is poor. There are low birth weight with babies.
They may also have certain harmful diseases.
The common diseases which are put in this group are gonorrhea, syphilis, lymphogranuloma venereum, lymphogranuloma inguinale, genital warts, herpes genitalis, then trichomonal vaginitis, and candidiasis, then condylomata acuminata, AIDS, and there are many others which can be put under this heading. But the most common ones were gonorrhea and syphilis in the past days, and now in day-to-day practice we see trichomonal vaginitis as a very common disease.
If the right information is not imparted, it can weaken the entire process of development, which can lead to lifelong problems. Whereas, with the right guidance and support, the process of growing up can be made easy, more natural, beautiful, and far more enjoyable.